Yeah, really fascinating, isn't it, Paul, that actually over the last couple of days, really what has dominated SNP conference, potentially unsurprisingly, is this issue of independence and Scotland's place within the United Kingdom. We know that the SNP have set out their plan, and that is essentially to use the Supreme Court, and those hearings start tomorrow, though they could last for several months, to try and see whether Holyrood, whether MSPs have got the constitutional ability to hold a referendum. Nicola Sturgeon would like that in October of next year. If that is not the case, and most people seem to think that will not be the case, that the power ultimately resides in Westminster, where the British government have repeatedly said no, 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 that Nicola Sturgeon will use the Westminster elections in 2024 as a kind of de facto referendum. Now, again, most people don't think necessarily that would work, in the sense that general elections are not referendums, but that is the SNP's plan, and it's been much talked about at this conference. It's kind of almost been the rock on which this conference has been built, and that has, I think, led to frustrations actually to lots of Scottish voters who frankly think actually the SNP should stop focusing on independence at the moment during our cost of living crisis, should actually be talking about what they're going to do this winter, about taxation, about energy security. And I think actually I was listening into a Nicola Sturgeon press conference yesterday. I get the sense that actually her speech later on this afternoon will focus a lot more on those kind of day-to-day politics issues. We had some pretty robust attacks of the Conservative Party yesterday, not least of all Nicola Sturgeon's words in that interview, but also attacks in terms of financial management, and indeed about their ability to manage the economy at this difficult time. And also, Paul, interestingly, attacks on Labour too. Now, why is that? Well, Labour have suddenly shot up in the polls recently here in Scotland, reflecting that national picture. Is that making the SNP a little uneasy? I think it probably is, though Nicola Sturgeon would suggest that actually Labour are taking the votes from the Conservative Party and not necessarily from the Scottish Nationalists themselves.